Right now, there is a light switch within arm's reach of you. You never think about it. You flick it, and the darkness dies. For 300,000 years, your ancestors had no switch. When the sun dropped below the horizon, the world did not go quiet. It came alive. And the things that woke up could see in the dark. You could not. So how did a slow, soft, half-blind animal survive 12 hours of blackness, every single night, for longer than our species has even had language? The answer is stranger than you think, and your body is still running the program tonight. To understand it, you have to go back, not 100 years, not 1,000. Go back to the open plains of Ice Age Africa and Europe, where the sunset was not the end of the day. It was the beginning of the fight to see the next one. Start with your eyes, because your eyes are the problem. Look at a cat in the dark, and you will see two coins of light staring back at you. That glow is a mirror. It sits behind the retina, and it is called the tapetum lucidum. It bounces incoming light back through the eye a second time. So a lion or a hyena catches almost every scrap of light in a moonlit field. You have no mirror. Your eyes are built for daylight and color, not for the dark. Drop a human into true blackness, and for all practical purposes, that human is blind. Now hold that thought, because that was your default condition for half of your life. Every night, for hundreds of thousands of years, your family went blind at the exact moment the best hunters on Earth were waking up hungry. 12 hours, no moon on a clouded night, no stars under a thick sky, just breathing bodies pressed close, and the sounds of something large moving where no one could look. This is why your own night vision still takes 20 slow minutes to creep in, and why one glance at a bright screen erases all of it in a single second. There is a cruel twist here too. The very thing that makes your daytime vision sharp and full of color, all those cone cells packed into the center of your eye, is nearly useless once the light drops. In the dark, you see best not by looking straight at something, but slightly to the side of it, catching it with the edge of your vision where the light-sensitive rod cells live. Your ancestors knew this in their bodies without ever naming it. Your eyes never truly solved the dark, so they had to solve it another way. But the way they solved it did not just push back the night. It rewired everything about what it meant to be human. The oldest strong evidence we have for people using fire inside a shelter comes from a place called Wonderwork Cave in South Africa. A team led by Francesco Berna published the findings in the journal PNAS, describing burned bone and traces of ash deep inside the cave, dating back roughly 1 million years, deep enough inside that no passing wildfire could have blown it there. Something carried that flame in on purpose. And think about what the fire actually was to them. Not comfort. A wall, a ring of moving light maybe 10 feet across, and just past its edge, in the black, eyes. Most predators hate fire. They will not cross it. So for the first time, a soft and slow animal could scratch a line on the ground and mean it. Inside this circle, we live. But a fire is not free. It has to be fed, all night, or it dies and takes the wall down with it. Someone had to stay awake, pushing wood into the coals, listening past the crackle for whatever the crackle was hiding. The firekeeper, maybe the single most important role in the whole group, and one of the oldest jobs we would still recognize today. You feel the echo of it every time you cannot pull your eyes away from a campfire, hypnotized, feeding it one more log you do not need. That pull is ancient. The ancestors who let the fire go out did not become anyone's ancestors. And once the fire held the line, something strange happened to the way you sleep. You believe a good night is 8 unbroken hours. Your ancestors would not understand what you meant. The historian Roger Ickert spent years reading old diaries, court records, and private letters, and he kept finding the same pattern in the world before electric light. People slept in 2 shifts, a first sleep beginning a few hours after dark, then an hour or two fully awake in the dead middle of the night, then a second sleep, running on until dawn. In that middle waking, people tended the fire, murmured to each other, prayed, or simply lay still in the dark and listened to the world. Here is the part that changes everything. That gap in the night was not a defect. Out in the open, it may have been armor. Picture a camp where every single body drops unconscious at the same instant for 8 straight hours. That is a camp with an 8-hour hole ripped open in its defenses every night. Now split the night in 2, stagger it, and someone is almost always surfacing, half listening, eyes cracking open. So if you wake at 3 in the morning tonight and cannot fall back under, and you lie there feeling broken, consider this. You may not be broken at all. You may be standing a watch that no longer needs standing. Because in a real group, that watch was never left to luck. It was built into the people themselves. Researchers led by David Sampson studied the Hadza, a hunter-gatherer people in Tanzania who still sleep much the way humans have slept for most of our history. They tracked sleeping adults minute by minute, night after night, for weeks. And what they found is quietly astonishing. Across roughly 3 weeks of continuous data, there was almost no moment when every adult was asleep at the same time. Not because anyone was assigned a shift, nobody drew straws. It happened because of age. The young stayed up late and slept in. The old drifted off early and woke long before dawn. Bodies of different ages ride on different internal clocks, and the accidental result is a nearly unbroken chain of wakefulness stretched across the whole night. Researchers called it the sentinel hypothesis. So your grandmother waking at 5 in the morning, restless, wandering the house, is not just decline. In the deep past, that was a defense system with a pulse. The elders were the dawn guard, and they never even knew they were on duty. But even with the fire and the watch, out there you were still half blind. So the rest of your senses had to carry the weight your eyes could not. When you cannot see, you listen. In the dark, your ancestors read the night like a map drawn in sound, a snapped twig, a sudden change in the wall of insect noise, the alarm call of a bird that should have been asleep for hours. Sound travels farther and cleaner through the cold, still air of night, and a camp learned to go dead silent and decode all of it in a single heartbeat. Smell mattered just as much. Wood smoke, blood on the wind, the heavy musk of a big cat moving upwind through the grass. This is exactly why a sudden noise in the dark still freezes you where you stand, heart already slamming, a full second before your thinking mind has worked out what frightened you. That jolt is not a weakness, it is an inheritance. Your body ran the threat check and hit the alarm before it ever bothered to ask your permission. Picture it. The fire is low, the camp is a ring of sleeping shapes. Somewhere out in the black, a night bird stops singing, just stops. And every experienced sleeper in that camp is suddenly, silently awake, not moving, breathing shallow, mapping the silence, because silence in the wrong place at the wrong moment meant that something large was moving close and moving quiet. So who actually owned the night out there? It was not you. At a South African site called Swartkrans, the paleontologist C.K. Brain examined the fossil skull of an early human relative and found 2 clean puncture holes punched through the bone. He matched them precisely to the spacing of the lower fangs of a leopard. The message, sent up across nearly 2 million years, could not be blunter. That individual was caught, dragged up into a tree, and eaten. Leopards still haul their kills up into trees today to keep them from scavengers. For most of the human story, we were not the top predator on the landscape. We were the meat. Cave hyenas hunted in the dark. Leopards and other big cats hunted in the dark. They had the eyes, the teeth, the silence, and the timing, and they worked the exact hours when you could not see your own hand. The fire was never decoration and never just warmth. It was the one thin, flickering line standing between a sleeping family and the animals that had been eating that family's ancestors for 1,000,000 years. So here is the turn. Tonight you will lie down in a sealed room, behind a locked door, under a solid roof no leopard will ever cross. You are safer, right now, than almost any human who has ever lived, and yet, you still check that the door is locked. You still feel, somewhere you cannot argue with, that the dark corner of the room is watching you back. You still snap awake at 3 in the morning, wide-eyed, certain for one full heartbeat that something is wrong, before you remember there is nothing out there at all. What if that is not anxiety? What if it is not insomnia, or nerves, or a problem to be fixed? What if it is a 300,000-year-old guard, still standing his post, still sweeping the dark for the eyes that used to be waiting there? The threat is gone. The watchman just never got the message. We traded the fire for a light switch. We traded the night watch for an alarm clock, and the warm circle of sleeping bodies for a single locked room of our own. We got safety, real safety, and we barely noticed the quiet price we paid for it. The shared night, the tended flame, the certainty that someone was always awake in the dark, watching over you while you slept. Your ancestors survived that dark together, night after night after night, for 300,000 years and passed that survival straight down an unbroken line that ends, tonight, in you. So when you flick that switch and the darkness dies without a fight, remember what it once cost to earn a single safe night, and remember that some old, patient part of you is still awake in there, still keeping the watch, still listening out of pure ancient habit for the crackle of the fire and for the 12 hours of dark it once held back.